Special. Board meeting is called back to order after executive session. We do not have anything coming out of executive session. So we will now go into our prayer and pledge of allegiance by Mrs. Harrison.
Please stand. Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today to lift us up as we gather for our meeting. We ask for your wisdom and guidance to be present in all of our discussions and decisions. Grant us the strength to lead with integrity and humility, seeking the best interests of our students, staffs, and teachers. Help us to work together in unity for the greater good of our school community. We pray for your peace to reign in our hearts and minds as we work together for the betterment of our educational system. May our efforts be blessed and fruitful, bringing about positive change and growth in our schools. Lord, we also pray for our beloved students and teachers that they enjoy their time off this summer. May they find rest and rejuvenation, and may they use this break to recharge their minds and hearts. We pray that you keep everybody safe, protecting them from any harm or danger, and we ask that you continue to guide and shape them and prepare them for the upcoming school year. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Ms. Harrison, for that pledge, for that prayer. And now we will have special recognition.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Crawford. We would like to begin the special recognition part of the meeting by recognizing the following band, choir, and orchestra students who earned a medal at the Texas State Solo and Ensemble Contest. And if y'all would like to go ahead and come forward, we will be calling them up once you get in place. We have several students who placed from the Tyler Legacy High School who received a silver medal for their instrumental and/or vocals. We have some that are here and some that are not here. So if you do not hear your name called, please let me know because you snuck in and I'm not able to get you. But first up, we have Matthew Tidmore. You shake their hands and go on across, yes. Congratulations. Next we have Kesia Timmons. Come on down. She's coming. She's going around. Congratulations. Up next, the following students received a gold medal for instrumental and/or vocal solo. First up, we have Samuel Williams from Tyler High School. And I'm going to go back, I believe Gordon Roberts is here and we did not call you up. So Gordon Roberts from Tyler Legacy High School who received a silver medal for their instrumental and/or vocal solo. From Tyler Legacy High School for receiving a gold medal for instrumental and/or vocal solo is Cooper Drake. Congratulations. In addition to these individual recognitions, we have two ensembles who won a gold medal for their instrumental ensembles, and we will have all of y'all come up for a group photo. Up first, the saxophone ensemble from Tyler Legacy High School. And we have our one representative. Yeah. And also receiving a gold medal is the percussion ensemble from Tyler High School. Now y'all can all come up. Congratulations. Absolutely. Congratulations. And this concludes our recognitions for this evening.
I know, with the hat. I barely recognized him. What next?
See ya.
Public participation.
We'll give them a few minutes to clear out. Okay, we are now at the scheduled time in our agenda for public comment. The board wishes to hear your thoughts and concerns. As per board policy, all speakers must have submitted your name, which I'm sure you have, and just be informed that we can listen, but we can't make any kind of comments. So at this time, we have Emily Pinal. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yes. Come on down. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello again. Good evening, school board members. So as you know, my name is Emily Pinal. I am a Tyler SD alumni, a Tyler SD parent, and a community organizer. But above all, I'm someone who cares in this community. I will say I'm glad to see new faces in the school board and a shift in leadership. It brings new opportunities for accountability here. So almost 4 months ago, I stood right here asking you all to speak up. If that wasn't the time, then today must be. With everything happening across the country, and especially here in Texas, our families continue to live in fear. They deserve to know that their school district sees them, hears them, and will protect them. I'm urging you to use the summer not just to reflect, but to act. Work with your public relations team, your community liaison, and most importantly, with the parents, the community leaders, and advocates, to craft a strong and clear back-to-school message. A message that assures families that Tyler SD stands to protect every child and every family regardless of immigration status. Clearly outlines the district-level policies in place to uphold safety, dignity, and trust in schools. Redirects questions and fears to district administration to lessen the burden on teachers and principals, many who deeply care but are already stretched thin. Encourage each campus to develop its own family-facing plan in partnership with the community, just like we already do for safety drills and academic protocols. And just as we see those big signs in front of every school affirming through Guardian Plan that you all approved in 2022, that Tyler SD staff will protect our children at all costs, I ask you, where is that energy now? Why hesitate in releasing a public statement affirming the same sentiment? Neighboring districts didn't hesitate to ask. They were proactive. Tyler SD must be too, because silence in times like this can be taken as indifference. But words, when backed by actions, can build trust our community deserves. And I really hope you take this time, this moment seriously and act before another school year begins. If not, we will continue to come and speak. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Matthew Bailey.
Good evening, members of the board. 3 months ago, in March, I had stood before you all demanding that the board release a written statement declaring its intentions on how it may protect the undocumented students on Tyler ISD school grounds. Once again, I find myself repeating this demand. My name is Matthew Bailey, on behalf of the Tyler-based organization East Texas Monarchs. For the past 6 months, I believe that we have all seen our state and federal governments kick itself into overdrive at the behest of the sitting president's lofty goals of mass deportations. Often in the stuffy rooms of papers, pens, and suits, the words and writings of how a mass deportation ought to be conducted is conducted simply by observing numbers on a piece of paper, no matter how fanciful their presentation may seem in charts and graphs. Often, it's forgotten what these numbers truly mean. Often, we forget what the numbers truly represent. Often, we forget that there are faces to those numbers, names to these numbers, lives, hopes, and struggles and dreams. On Saturday, we had seen nearly 11 million strong throughout the country reject this goal of mass deportation. We had seen in Tyler itself, not 3 miles down the road, just outside this building at Birdfield Park, where an estimated 2,000 passionate souls, both young and old, felt so emboldened, so agitated by the horrors that we all see happening to our neighborhoods and friends here in Tyler, Dallas, Houston, and in my small town of Athens. I was there at the protest in Athens and here in Tyler, where the community had come out even following the fatal shooting of 2 Minnesota state representatives and the fatal shooting of 1 protester in Salt Lake City, Utah, to project our collective demands that the people of Tyler, the voting people of Tyler, do not want the federal government pushing around the children and innocent working people of our town. In both these protests, we had received great support from passerbys, honkings of horns, thumbs up, smiles, and waves of allied flags. I am sure that you all will consider the tremendous support that we have seen throughout our nation and this town for our demand, for they are reasonable, respectable, and justified. We ask again to release a statement on Tyler ISD's intentions on how they will protect their undocumented students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we all have a motion to approve the minutes for the board workshop May 8th, the board workshop May 14th, and the board workshop May 19th. Could I get a motion?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been approved, the minutes. Next, we'll have our reports, continuous improvement in student outcomes. Dr. Crawford.
Part of the board monitoring calendar that we will review here probably in the next couple of months. We have Director of Athletics, Sam Gillespie. He will actually lead off with us for athletics as he makes his way to the table. Coach Gillespie has committed to me that he will not read every bullet on every slide. And we're going to see if that can happen.
We won't hold it against you.
Just a reminder.
All right. Well, first of all, once again, Dr. Crawford, President Atkins, board members, I just want to tell you how appreciative I am in your trust in hiring me to lead this athletic program here in Tyler ISD. Jumped in both feet, and it's been great so far, and looking forward to see what we can do over the next number of years. I'm going to jump right in and kind of go through this. I want to explain a little bit on these slides. As you can see, the highlighted numbers there are participation numbers in each of those sports. I've listed kind of placings, how they placed in district, each one of these teams. And then I've also listed in parentheses our district record. And so I'm not going to read all those to you word for word like Dr. Crawford said. I do want to point out our academic all-state teams that we've had. The members that were academic all-state, they have to achieve a 92 or higher GPA in order to be academic all-state, and that's awarded to only seniors in those categories. And so you can see we had a lot of all-district. When you see the word superlative up there, that's kind of like your offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, newcomer of the year to the district. We had a lot of those and had a great season in boys and girls basketball. All 4 teams made the postseason. Not only that, 3 out of the 4 teams were district champs. So we're heading in the right direction. I think a lot of that, I'm going to be, I'm kind of selfish on this part, man. We've devoted a lot of time to our youth league, and we're finally getting to see some of the fruits of that pay off, not just in the high school, but at our middle schools too. So I do know that's a big part of that. I'm going to move on. Next slide. Well, if it'll go. There we go. Right here is our boys and girls soccer. You can see the number of players we had. We really have good numbers in most of our soccer programs. The only one that I do think I'll point out that we need to improve on is our girls program at Tyler High. I think we need to improve those numbers a little bit, and you'll see when I get to the middle school numbers how those reflect. And I think I've talked to the coaches about pointing those kids out. 6th grade pre-athletic, 6th grade PE, starting to talk to those girls, getting them interested in those sports that we are struggling in with numbers, and I think that'll help. And you can see on all these soccer ones here, we've got a lot of academic all-state selections. The thing about soccer is you've got academic all-state, TGCA, THSCA, you've got TASCO, so there's all kinds of academic selections. But again, those kids have to maintain a 92 GPA or higher to get those. Had a lot of superlatives and had a lot of great things happening in soccer this year as well. There we go. Spring tennis, track and field, another thing. Man, our tennis program at both places, Coach Sizemore at Legacy and Coach Quinones at Tyler High do an outstanding job. If you didn't hear, Coach Sizemore was named by the Texas High School Coaches Association Region 4 Coach of the Year for 6A. I think he told me 9 out of the past 10 years they were district champs. And man, that's something to really be proud of. And this year, even over at Tyler High, I'll get to it later on, but man, we had a medalist at the state meet, and like Dr. Crawford said, they don't just give those out. You've got to earn those. And man, we had a young girl that's got a bright future in that's really going to help that program. Track and field wise, that's something I really think we can improve on overall. You know, one thing we started doing last year, we started hosting a 6th grade track meet to get kids more interested in it. This is the 2nd year we've done it. The first year, I believe Bolter took the trophy. We combined the points, and this year Hubbard won it. And trying to get them more interested, and I had a lot of great input from families and some parents that volunteered to help out and just said, man, the kids love this, and they're looking forward to track now in middle school because they get to see it at a young age. Same way in our youth leagues. That's why we're doing those things, to make sure they get a taste of it early and have a good experience to carry them through. But you can see on all those, our numbers are really good in all those programs right here with spring tennis, track and field. All those numbers are really, really good.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? if I'm looking at this correctly, so you're saying on your track and field numbers, Tyler High and Legacy combined have 128 kids involved in the track and field program? Does that include cross-country?
No, sir. No, sir.
And then I guess so far with the numbers you've run through, your biggest sport is soccer, 355 kids roughly? The slide before this.
Let me go back, see if I can go back.
You got,
Oh, right, there we go. There we go.
so you got, 355 kids combined at both schools, girls and boys soccer. So double the amount well, a lot more than double. I'm just looking proportionately, which is your biggest sport? Is it soccer or is it football?
Football. And again, I'm going off the top of my head right now because football isn't on there, but this past year we had 200 and close to 270 boys play football just at Tyler Legacy, and we had over 150-something boys play football at Tyler High. So when you do that, it's well over 400, we're going to average anywhere between 400 and 500 kids playing football.
So you think your top two sports as far as the amount of kids are soccer and football? Are those your top two?
As far as like the number of participants,
The number
is that
of
what you're saying?
participants, right.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that is, the number of kids that get to play at one time. That's also what you got to look at. In basketball, you put 5 on the court. Baseball, you put 9 on the field. Same way with softball. Soccer and football, you got 11 players on the field at one time. So you need those better numbers for those sports.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, moving on to golf, man. And I'm going to tell you, thank you so much for y'all's trust in putting that golf facility that we've got, because I really think it's going to help and improve numbers, especially at Tyler High. You can see our numbers up there, and we've got to get those numbers up at Tyler High. A lot of the reason is it's hard for those kids to get on a course and play nowadays. These country clubs that we're allowed to go on, there's certain times we can be there. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. Now we're going to have a facility where those kids can go before school, after school, during the athletic period if they're scheduled in there, and be able to actually practice. And if you haven't been out to see that, I encourage you to get out there. It's a beautiful facility. Our maintenance people, our facility services, Tim Loper, everybody did a great job putting that thing together. And I think it's only going to enhance those programs and help us out a lot. And you can see there, we do need those numbers up at Tyler High. That's one of the things we've got to work on for golf. Tyler Legacy, though, you look at our girls and boys programs, and now that's a cut program. You got to realize that as well, because you can't carry every single person that comes out. But you can see our girls had a great...
Soccer does.
Soccer does not cut. No, they do not cut. Neither does football. Football and
I'm
soccer
just-
both. They're non-cut sports. So we take.
I love our soccer coaches, but man, they let anyone come out.
Yes, sir.
There you
Yes,
go.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sorry.
But you can see up there, golf program did very well this year. Our girls won district, went to the regional meet. Our boys had a medalist that went as well. Softball, that's another program we've got to get back up and running. Tyler Legacy for a while had that program going, but I'm going to tell you, and I told this to Coach Jenkins over at Tyler High when we hired him, I said, softball and baseball are two sports. Softball especially, I've been a head softball coach. You cannot develop a softball pitcher when they get in 9th grade. It's not going to happen. You've got to get those kids when they're in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and you got to go over to Ramey or those schools that feed into Tyler High, and you've got to get those kids interested, whether it be camps, something like that, and develop pitchers. That's what you have to be competitive. You've got to develop pitchers. And so I've told them that's something that we've got to start doing.
Do your varsity coaches at in different sports, whether it be in football or softball, do they go to the elementaries and middle schools at all?
Yes, sir. Middle schools, we're there almost daily. We're there. We've actually, credit to Dr. Crawford and our board and our principals, they've allowed those coaches to be there on campus working with those middle school kids. We've even had coaches that go down to the elementary schools, promote our camps, to the PE classes, things like that. That's the only way you're going to get those programs like this up and going.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then you can see baseball-wise, Tyler High, I'm going to tell y'all, Seth Gibson has a passion for Tyler High. He really does. And if you see his post, what he does for those kids, how he has a fall World Series for them and makes it a big deal. He's generating interest, and you can see by the number of kids he's got playing. He's got 51 out this year, which is great numbers. And like I said, I know he's going to do, he's got a passion for it. He loves Tyler High School. He loves those young men, and I know they're going to do nothing but get better. And then at Legacy, we've got a coach here now 2 years. you that have been here, you know we've had a different coach at Tyler Legacy up until we got VJ. I think we had 4 in 4 years maybe, or 3 in 4 years. And so that's tough. And now they've got some consistency, and you saw what they did this year. They not only got in the playoffs, but they went 3 rounds deep, and that's the first time that's happened since 2015. So looking bright future there for the baseball program. All right.
2010.
2010, sorry.
15 years.
2010, my bad. And then this is just, I just threw this up here so you could see, really want to celebrate these district championships that we got. Tyler High girls basketball, district champs. The most impressive thing I can point out there, 61 wins in the last 2 seasons. That's pretty impressive. Coach Reynolds has done a great job. And then, of course, our tennis, our boys soccer, girls golf, 3 years in a row for girls golf at Tyler Legacy. Girls basketball, boys swim, just a great fun year for all of our teams there. Move on to the next slide. There we go. Go back. Okay, state qualifier. I really want to take some time, a little bit of time on this. State qualifying, that's something that's hard to do. We had a state champion this year, and it was Coach Petty's daughter, Madeline Petty. She's a freshman, y'all. She's just a freshman, and she won state this year down there at the meet. She made it in 2 events. We also had a girls relay team get down there. It was the first time we've had a girls relay team since we've been in 6A that made it down to that meet. So that was a big deal. Madry East in cross country made it to the state meet, and then we had 2 doubles teams make it to the state meet down in San Antonio for tennis, which was awesome. That weekend was tough for me. I was going to baseball games in Lufkin, leaving Lufkin, driving to San Antonio, watching those kids play, and then coming back. So it was a lot of fun. And then, like I said, the regional semifinalists, we had baseball and team tennis. And you can see our regional qualifiers there in all the different sports, and also our area and by-district qualifiers. One thing I asked Coach, I pointed out, and I said, Coach, when's the last time that Legacy had made it to the second round in basketball? And he said, Coach, it's the first time in 18 years. And he said, we were 1 possession away from making it to the 3rd round, and it was 1977 the last time that happened. And I really think he's got those guys going in the right direction. And then also Legacy baseball, like Dr. Crawford said, in the regional semifinals, first time in 15 years, which is awesome. Hopefully they just keep striving, going up. Got beat by a really good Tomball team that went on, and I think they got lost in the state championship game this year. So had a great showing there. Then moving on to Tyler High. State qualifiers in tennis, we had Chloe Wade, and I mentioned that. Chloe's only a sophomore, y'all, and she was a bronze medalist at the state tennis tournament. She's still got 2 more years with us, so don't be surprised in the next year or 2 if we have a gold medalist come out of Tyler High in tennis, which is, to me, it's hard to do that. I've been at a lot of different schools. It's hard, number one, just to get down there. It's extremely hard to medal, and that's a credit to her, Coach Quinones, her family, just a great bunch. And then girls cross country, Amy Vasquez was a state qualifier. I can't list all the things that Coach Niederauer sent me an email, probably 2 pages long, just bragging on this young lady about how great of a student she is. I mean, just couldn't say enough. He said, Coach, he kept emailing me back saying, hey, you might want to put this in there. And I said, Coach, I think I've only got about 10 minutes, so I don't know if I can get it all in. But just very proud of that young lady. She's got a bright future ahead of her.
You know what she ran at the regional meet?
I don't know what she ran at the
They
region.
ran 5K, right? 3.1 miles? The girls did?
Yes. And she is, I'm telling you, he told me she'll be the first one in her family, I believe, to go to college. She is an AP student, just extremely intelligent young girl, greatest work ethic you could ask for. So bright future there. And Coach Niederauer, y'all, great hire for our part, getting him to do cross country and track over there. I'm telling you, if you hadn't met him, he's awesome. He's awesome. And then also, we had some regional qualifiers, boys and girls swimming. When Coach Petty sent me this, I said, man, is that right? And he said, boys relay 200 freestyle, first relay team to qualify for regionals in at least 30 years from Tyler High, which is awesome. Coach Betty does a great job with the swim program. If you've ever been out there in the summer, it looks like ants in that pool. There's tons of kids. He's really got a great program. He works it from the ground up. We've even got more kids now. We've got kids from Bolter, from Birdwolf, from all these places now going over there to swim, and it's just going to help that program on both sides, at Legacy and Tyler High. And then the area qualifiers in girls basketball, like I pointed out before, it's hard to go undefeated 2 years in a row in district. And Coach Reynolds did with that girls basketball team, which is great. And then, of course, our bi-district qualifiers in team tennis and boys basketball as well. Okay, next slide. This is a breakdown, just kind of our middle schools, and I want to point out the numbers that are color-coded there. That's the participation numbers in each of those sports. I mentioned, the youth league and how it's paying off. These 7th graders this year, I believe, have been in our program 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade in our youth league. So they had a basketball in their hand and at least got to play over the course of 6 weeks, which is great because when you get kids in that middle school that you put a basketball in their hand the first time, then it's hard. And so these kids have got to play. And I'll be honest with you, Donnie Little, our assistant AD, we could not do this youth league without him or Haley Skinner. Donnie Little goes out and gets a tremendous amount of money donated for this program. And that way our kids all over the district don't have to pay an arm and a leg to play in this. We can make sure every one of them that wants to play plays. So that's really helped us. But you can see girls basketball, we had district champions and the runner-up. They played we host the district tournament, and Hubbard girls and Three Lakes girls in 7th grade played in the championship game, which was awesome. 8th grade.
Our district in middle school?
We've got our 4 middle schools. We've got the 3 Longview schools. We've got Jacksonville. We've got White House, all in our district. So when we made that change before, I think we just had White House and Jacksonville for a long time, and then R4, we decided to go out and we've got to play somebody tougher.
It used to be homogenous.
Oh, just amongst ourselves.
Yes,
Oh.
for a long time. Everybody walked around here with their chest sticking out. We were city champions. We never go play anybody else.
Right.
Made that change in about 2015 or 16, I think.
So y'all play Foster, Judson, and Forest Park out of Longview.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good competition out of Foster, I'm sure.
Yeah, well,
All of them.
and Judson
Yeah.
and Foster are very, very, very competitive, and even White House and Jacksonville. You've got to load up and be ready each and every week. And I think our Hubbard girls, 7th grade, never lost a game
Did
all the way
Lufkin
through.
and Knack, they're not in it?
Lufkin's in there too.
Lufkin's in
Knack
it.
is not.
Knack got out.
They got out.
Who are they with? Marshall in that bunch now?
They went to play back with their district.
Okay.
That was a long drive.
Well, now we get to go through Nacogdoches to get to Lufkin.
Did the reduction from 6 middle schools to 4 middle schools kind of push that along some? Because before we were just basically playing each other, or did that?
We were
not
still
play?
doing it.
We're still doing it?
When we had 6, we were still, and that was tough because you'd go to a district tournament and you'd have a Tyler ISD team beat another team 70-7 in the basketball tournament, just because we didn't have the numbers. When you had those micro schools, Hogg was the micro one because we just didn't have the numbers to participate over there. So, in fact, the last few years Hogg was open, we kind of did a quadrant thing. Wherever you lived in their zone, like if you lived at a certain location, you could go try out for Hubbard, or you could go try out for Three Lakes or Bolter or more. And we had some kids participate there.
Thank you.
And you can see there, girls track and field, the numbers there. We were the district runner-up, Hubbard was. We've got pretty good numbers track and field-wise, That's a hard sport. That's why we're starting in the 6th grade now, trying to get them interested in it. I would love next year to come back here and say, man, look at those numbers, and we have 40 kids participating, because the way you win track meets, you flood every event. You try to get 3 in every event. That's how you win
Coach,
those track
does
meets.
the other school district in our middle school district that has more than one middle school, do they still combine their middle school athletes in track?
Yes, sir.
Are they
Longview does.
Are they? I wasn't
That
mentioning any
legal?
names. Is that in alignment with UIL rules?
Not that I know of.
Questionably, maybe.
Maybe, not that I know
All right,
of.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I don't want, I don't want to
Okay.
want to jump in the weeds on that, but
Okay.
don't think so. And then you can see our 8th grade, Three Lakes ended up 3rd place in that district. Girls soccer, and I want to explain the soccer numbers. The soccer numbers, the reason they are the way they are, we do an A and a B team in soccer, but they're combined 7th and 8th graders, if that makes sense. We combine them. So on your A team, you might have some of your better 7th graders and your better 8th graders, and then on your B team, still a mixture of 7th and 8th grade. We have 2, we try to have 2 at every middle school. And you can see our numbers. And like I said before, we've got to get the numbers up at Bolter. We've got to get those kids in 6th grade pre-athletics, 6th grade PE. And another thing that I'm big on, you've got to have it from your head coach down. It can't just be coming from those middle schools. They've got to be visible like we talked about and get those kids participating.
I'm amazed with the demographics you got at Bolter that you don't have that as your biggest campus for soccer, for girls soccer. Just the demographics with Hispanic community and the tie-in with soccer would lead me to believe that that would have been 50 kids as opposed to 15.
You would think so. And that's what we've got to work
Are you
on.
seeding any competition from select leagues? Are they not doing it at the school because they're doing it in select leagues?
I don't know if
Seen any
that's
of
the
that?
case. I mean, don't get me wrong. You drive out to Lindsay Park on a Saturday and it's flooded. I know that. And I think that's where some of our coaches might need to get out there and start being visible out there as well. But you know, those numbers since I've been here, it's kind of fluctuated. You might have some classes that have a lot, some classes that don't. Apparently this year we were in a class that just didn't have much interest in that. And we've got to do a better job getting those kids in the 6th grade.
Yeah, I'd have lost my lunch money on that bet. I would have thought that would have been your biggest soccer campus as far as middle school.
Yes, sir. And then here's the boys side. Boys basketball, again, great numbers. I think all 4 teams on our boys basketball had A, B, and C teams this year to play. So good numbers there. Moore was a district runner-up in 7th grade. I believe they got beat out by Lufkin. 8th grade, we didn't have anybody playing in that. Boys track and field, you can see Moore was our district runner-up. Three Lakes was 3rd place in the district track meet, and then the 8th grade boys, Hubbard was 4th. And then again, boys soccer, I'm going to give a shout out to Coach Smith at Moore. Moore boys were district champs. They did not allow a goal all year. Which is hard to do in soccer, and they did not allow a goal. Not only that, but their B team were also district champs. And so great showing there. We had district runner-up in Hubbard as well, so had a real good showing in soccer as well there for the boys. I do want to end with something, just some updates for you guys. We just got back from our TABC Girls Showcase. I know Dr. Crawford might have filled some of you in. We had a great showing. Man, it's the first year the UIL has allowed school districts to help out with the travel and cost and all that. We sent both Legacy and Tyler High down there. Legacy ended up 3-0. Tyler High was 2-1. I think the last I checked, there were over 165 girls teams that competed down there at the TAB Showcase.
215.
215? Okay. And then on the boys' side, our boys leave this week to go down there. The girls played down around College Station. Our boys are playing in the Metroplex, Duncanville. And right now on the boys' side, there's 400 teams that are entered in that TABC Showcase, which it's going to be, I know our boys, both sets of boys get to play at the main gym at Duncanville, and man, it just gives our kids a chance to get recognized by some college coaches and things like that, which is, man, it's awesome for our kids. So, and then also this year we started up middle school 7-on-7. That's one of the things that I told our coaches I wanted to see, and they said, man, we'll try to get that going. I said, no, we're going to do it this year. And man, we had 3 different weeks we did it at Bolter, 3 different weeks we did it at Three Lakes, because I told them, I said, if you don't do it, somebody will. And it was really good. And I think that's only going to expand. We're going to try to even involve 6th grade next year with that. And then finally, like I said, just one last thing. Haley Skinner does a super job with our youth league, basketball and volleyball. And we're finally seeing the benefits of that pay off at our middle schools and our high schools.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
One comment,
Yes, sir.
and I know you don't want to drag this on any more than you have to. Stick and ball sports. baseball, softball, you hit the nail on the head. It's got to start well before they ever get to us.
Yes.
I was really, my heart was warmed, the rededication of the Fun Forest Fields to the Reverend Ralph Caraway Fields or Complex. I believe that's what they renamed it. And I think the city put some money into it. That's great, but they've also reignited a North Tyler Baseball League, youth baseball league. And it was just a group of daddies that got together to get it going again. At one time, whenever Tyler was playing in Dixie League and then Little League, North Tyler was a force. And getting men of character, men of high morals, along with women of character and high morals to teach our kids softball and baseball. They're great sports to learn how to deal with life in, because when you're considered successful, when you fail 70% of the time, it kind of gets you prepared for the reporting of star results and having to equate that stuff and try to figure the complexity out of what an OPS percentage is that agents come up with to make you look like you're an all-star. But I really was pleased that's happening, and I'm hoping that grassroots effort will pay off for us in the next 10 or 15 years. We'll do what we can. We've got great coaches in place, but it's going to have to take our parents to really get that going.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank
I
you.
just wanted to detail the middle school involvement. I think that's the key in getting them involved in high school and keeping them involved. If you get involved early, it's likely that they will continue. So your coach is going down from high school down to middle school is an excellent concept.
Yes, sir.
Any more comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Star EOC.
Star EOC, we have Dr. Lance Gropel, Deputy Superintendent for Administration, which has the K-8s and assessment and accountability in his division, joined by Dr. James Curitan, our lead psychometrician here in Tyler ISD, and one of the leading psychometricians in the state of Texas, apparently. They're going to provide you some, not full data, with STAR and EOC summarization as this data has been trickling in. Dr. Gropel, Dr. Curitan.
Good evening, President Atkins, Board, and Dr. Crawford. As Dr. Crawford has alluded to, we've started to get a trickling in of our STAR and EOC data, and we're going to report a little bit of that to you tonight. As we learned last week at Lone Star Governance, this is not all that goes into what rates a campus, what distinguishes a campus, but it is a part of the gumbo, and we're going to get into a little bit of that this evening as we still have some more data coming in, but we wanted to report what we have for you tonight. 3 parts of our presentation tonight. We're going to look at board goals that were established last year and how we refined those as it pertains to 3rd grade performance on math and reading. Not only on the approaches level, but also as it pertains to the meets and masters level. Then we'll get into all of our content areas and how we performed in those areas. And then finally, we'll wrap up with a cohort presentation to show you more of an apples to apples. How did I do in 3rd grade? Then how did we do again in 4th grade? Same kids reporting. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Curitan.
Okay. So as Dr. Gropel pointed out, we'll start out with our goals that we discussed and updated in the fall. I'm going to start with our first goal, HB Goal 1, HB3 Goal 1, which is our 3rd grade reading goal. It's early literacy. You can see there's a couple of lines here. That blue line is the state average. The solid black line is our district passing rate. And then the lighter gray line is our goal. And so you can see where we fell out this year at about 72.5% of our students passed 3rd grade reading. Our goal was 70.5, so we did hit our goal this year. You will see the state has not officially released their data yet, so we don't know where the state as a whole is going to finish on 3rd grade reading. But at the end of the day, we reversed that trend and started moving up this year. And you can see on the right-hand side of your screen how each of our student groups that we monitor competed. So the green just means we hit or we're above the target for that group. Yellow means we're within a couple of points, and then red means we're more than a few points below where we were trying to be. So this is just straight passing rate or approaches. Our 4th progress measure is also looking at 3rd grade reading, but looks at meets and masters. So these are our higher performing students. It's a higher proficiency level. The colors of the lines mean the same thing. So you can see for several years now, we've been increasing our meets and masters numbers. Or I'm sorry, the goal has been increasing. We've been fairly consistent with meets and masters. We were there again this year at about 46.5%, 47%. We don't know what the state is going to finish at yet, but you can see how each group finished on the right-hand side there.
Madam President, question, what is non-continuously enrolled? What defines that? What is that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So those are students that have not been in Tyler ISD for at least 3 years. So continuously enrolled means they've been in our district for a couple of years. Non-continuously enrolled could be a student that left another district last year, moved here, and they've only been here for, say, a year, for 6 months, or something of that nature.
3 years is the benchmark that,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
You familiar with snapshot date?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if they don't hit your snapshot date, but they're here, they get hit right here, correct?
So if we have a student, say even a student that came, it's 24, 25, let's say in December of 24, they would still be included non-continuously enrolled because they have not been here for 3 years.
Why do they keep up with this?
Yeah,
Every meeting I've sat in, it's breaking down and disaggregating the data more and more different ways. I don't know that I can give you a good answer to that because there's only so many ways you can kind of mediate with this data, if you want to call it that.
I got you.
3 years seems to be an arbitrary number, too. I
Yeah.
can see it if it was scope and sequence deal where they think the kid's not getting the same stuff, but 3 years is a pretty good amount of period of time.
Yes, sir. My assumption would be it comes from accountability, and with third graders, they want students that have been for Tyler ISD for first, second, third.
Gotcha.
Versus students that came in at the beginning of third grade and only were here for that 1 year of instruction, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Okay, so HB3 Goal 2, this is our early numeracy goal. This is third grade math. So third grade math, we've been on a little bit of a downturn, so we turned that up a little bit this year. We went from 66 to about 68%. Again, state has not officially released any data, but we did hit our targets almost across the board. And then we hit our goal this year, which we did reduce to get in line with this new STAR 2.0 assessment. And again, this is passing rate, so we're just talking approaches proficiency. That same goal, but progress measure 4, which looks at our meets and master students. You can see here, we were kind of maintaining. We took a little bit of a dip last year, and then we saw an increase again this year to about 43%. And you can see all the student groups there. So we hit our target this year, and then we'll continue that track next year. Okay, so with regards to our goals, those are the goals relevant from this STAR data. Now I'm going to show you all STAR data, and we're just going to compare STAR this year to STAR last year. So this is our apples to oranges table, if you want to call it that. We're not comparing the same group of students when we compare. So that row that says third grade, it's not third graders. 2 years in a row, it's 2 different sets of third graders. So third graders in 23-24 and how they performed on the reading test versus third graders in 24-25. If you see a green on the right-hand side, it means we performed at the same or better than last year. Yeah, we did. You'll see a little bit of a dip in English 1. I'm going to talk more about that when we get to the cohort data. It is something we saw at the state level as well. But otherwise, pretty consistent improvement across all grade levels. Oh, excuse me. Here's our math data. It's presented the same way. So some solid numbers, especially Algebra 1. If you look at the meets and masters, numbers down there, 8th grade math at the meets level. Third grade math was one where we focused a lot last year, and you can see we see some of that benefit as well at the meets and masters level. Next was science and social studies. And we see a lot of the same trend. You'll notice even if we did not meet our target from last year, a lot of times we were within a point or 2 of that, so we weren't far off. 5th grade science, I would point out, is a big one. That was one we really put a lot of effort into last year, so you can see the jump there is not small. All right. So now we're going to shift gears and talk cohort. So this is more your apples to apples, same group of students. What does that data look like? So here's reading data. So what you are looking at here is, if I look at that fourth grade row where it says 23, 24 star, that is your current fourth graders when they took star last year in third grade. 24, 25 star, those are current fourth graders, what they scored on fourth grade star, and the difference is on the right-hand side. So obviously you can see there's a lot of growth in fourth grade, fifth grade meets and masters, eighth grade's another big one for us. You'll see that dip in English 1. So obviously there's a pretty big drop there. We have some idea of the state numbers. They're not official, and I can tell you the state saw about a similar drop to what we see up here. It's going from that eighth grade reading star assessment to that English 1 assessment is pretty typical to see a drop. Obviously, we don't want to see a drop or see that big of a drop. It's something we'll continue to work at, but it's consistent with what we see at the state level as well. And here's our math star cohorts. Yeah, so some positives in fourth grade, again, meets and masters. You'll see that seventh grade, which I think we talk about every year at the approaches level. Again, if we look at the state's data, they dropped about 16 percentage points unofficially. We're at about 15 points. They actually dropped in meets and masters level in seventh grade. We didn't drop at all in meets or masters. So I feel like we should come out ahead there. Also, Algebra 1, I think, is worth recognizing. A lot of big gains there, 15-point improvement in approaches, 26 in meets and masters. The state was much lower than those. We were at about 6 points of improvement in approaches, 7 in meets, and about 14 points in masters. So, that include all of them. Yeah, includes all of our students there, just to, yeah. So solid improvement in math, which is a big focal point. And with that, we'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments?
What do you think is driving the trend down on the English stuff? Because probably 2 or 3 slides there kept trending down. I know you say that it's trending with the state average, but I can't stand being measured against the state. What do you think?
Yes, sir. No, it's let me go back here. It's definitely something that catches our eye. I can tell you, going from the 8th grade STAR reading assessment to that English 1 EOC assessment is just a big change. English 1 and English 2, for as long as I can recall, have been the 2 hardest assessments for our high schoolers. So our high schoolers have to pass those tests, right? Those have been the 2 most difficult tests to pass. They're just a challenge with the writing that's on there and the format of those compared to the 8th grade STAR assessment, or the 3rd through 8th grade STAR reading assessments.
The test, the first one you said was a STARS reading test, and then you went from that to a EOC, to an English end of course exam. So they're not comparable exams is what you're saying?
They're comparable, and the state's going to estimate growth from one to the next, right? So they're going to say
just different.
Correct. They're just a different style of test compared to the 3rd through 8th grade reading test.
I think another thing to note, Mr. Lasea, even if you look at 5th grade there, where you see a dip in approaches, one of the things that the state does after they receive all of the tests is adjust and set cut points, and sometimes those cut points change. Specifically in the approaches for 5th grade, when it was a 5-point change from what it took to pass to meet that standard last year, a 5-point increase from what it meant to meet that standard last year this year compared to last year. So we had a 5-point increase in the expectation, which was not part of what was shared with us in August when we get the accountability manual. That all happens in Austin, and I'm not making excuses for it, but I think those are pieces of reality that are difficult for all of us to try to understand and wrap our mind around why those things change and we don't even have the ability to influence it. So that number using last year's standard is not going to go down, it's going to go up.
So you've got a different test, you've got that complication of it. Do you think there's any other components, or just those 2 are the basic big ones? Because I know the state's gonna be a moving target. We talked about that before. They're always gonna come in and say that portion of it. They're gonna change that. When we get close, they're gonna move it. That's just part of life. That's part of the way that system is.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think you look at all of this in aggregate, and then you pick out that one. And then we don't have answers for you tonight. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
We'll have an autopsy report once we're able to get with other school districts that suffered the same consequences, because I think you're saying that the state looks similar. And we get that from one of our consultants.
So right now, the state released kind of preliminary data in the testing vendor, the testing system.
That's Cambium.
Which is Cambium.
Right.
So my gut says tomorrow TA will release everything once it's available to families and the parent.
There you
We
go.
have to wait on that data.
So that's how we usually try to figure out if it's an anomaly just for Tyler or if it's a statewide thing, and then we kind of have to go back and do an after-action type of thing to see what the cause was. Then we can report that to
I'm
you.
encouraged by the scores in mathematics. I actually.
Oh, it's the year of math.
Yeah,
I mean,
I actually am. That
we've
made me
been
feel
just
good.
beating ourselves up about mathematics the last few years, and all of a sudden, bam, look at us.
Yeah.
We're mathematicians.
Well, I would say, you
Reading,
know,
we've been kind of inching up, and all of a sudden, bam, we can't read anymore.
yeah, I mean, I think our math team did a great job this year of revamping their curriculum, revamping their assessments, and
Yeah.
with the partnership with Dr. Cureton and another vendor to really evaluate how quality our assessments are. We're going in the process of doing that in our local assessments for reading as well, to make sure that how we're assessing kids is in a manner that's going to represent quality results that we see here tonight.
And it's interesting, we start looking at meets and masters, you start looking at individual campuses and the growth they had there, some of our typically struggling campuses, and then approaches goes the other direction. So you're growing kids. You remember that there's that chart. I don't know if we've ever shown the chart about how many, we kind of talked about it at Lone Star Governance about you get a point if you.
Transition tables.
Transition tables.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we need to have an accountability refresher for this bunch, since we have a new trustee and we just all need it.
Yeah.
About how you can score
You can blame me for it.
in different places. No, I need it. Heck, I'm supposed to live this stuff, and I still can't talk about it effectively. Dr. Cureton can. But it's just so weird how you can have these growth measures, kids moving from approaches to meets to masters. We had some incredible stories across the district, but then you look at that seventh grade approaches, we had a 15-point dip in just passing. So there was a gap there, right? Is what we're saying. So I think it's one of those things where we've got to spend some more time with the data before we can tell y'all kind of what happened, especially with the plan that we're going to need to have to kind of rectify some of this.
Well, it seems, sorry.
Go ahead. They can come
Just
right.
really encouraging. I mean, do y'all feel encouraged about these? I mean, y'all are the,
I think we had a great year. As Dr. Crawford alluded to, I think the biggest highlight for us is our meets and masters and
Yeah.
numbers and the increase across the board there. That means you're taking our highest achieving kids and extending them further, which is a great success. I would say I don't think any of us are happy or not happy. I don't think any of us are satisfied with some of our approaches numbers and some of our meets and masters numbers, but definitely a great year, a lot to celebrate on our campuses. I think as we get to accountability ratings, I think there's going to be a lot to celebrate there. As I said at the start of this is just a part of the gumbo that makes up those accountability ratings. And I think I may speak for Dr. Cureton to say I'm very optimistic of what that end result will look like, looking at growth, looking at kids, how they perform one year to the next, and making sure we're meeting that year's worth of growth. I think we're going to see a great deal of that's going to translate into better campus, better district ratings.
And we're not going to talk about letter grades or number grades here tonight, but Dr. Cureton, I got a text the other day, 85% confidence that you feel pretty good about it, which is better than we've ever had at this point. What else is hanging out there as far as data coming in before Mr. New? Don't forget about Mr. Newsom's question.
Don't worry.
He won't forget.
It won't be long.
Well, what else is going to trickle in? Is it Star Alt, some of your special ed stuff?
Yes, sir. So we're waiting on Star Alt scores, and those should come in, I believe, at the end of this week. And then we may have gotten graduation rate today or tomorrow. So those will be remaining for the high schools. And at that point, that should give us all the gumbo to kind of put it all together.
And that's a
start getting
lag,
feel for it.
the graduation
That lags,
rate.
that's 23, 24 grads.
Yeah.
And we're just now getting the data.
We can go back and fix them, let me tell you. So we've got a little bit of data to come back in that might boost some of our data even inside of this, correct? Maybe.
For the most part, yeah. So once we get our Alt 2 results, we'll put all of that here. So for example, third grade right now is just straight STAR students, students that took just general STAR. Once we get Alt 2 results for third grade reading, we will lump those in with the STAR results for third grade reading, and we'll get a cumulative STAR score, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm very predictable. You should catch on pretty soon. I look for the red areas, of course, because I think we should always supersede the state of Texas and any other areas, any other schools in the area. So when we get a red, I definitely look at it. And I was looking at the goal 1, third grade reading, special ed in particular, significant drop. And I was wondering if you had tried to determine what caused that significant drop in that special ed population.
Okay, so this is a slide that's represented you're talking about?
Yes, sir, it
Okay,
is,
so this
definitely.
slide is specifically looking at our meets and masters, so the higher levels of proficiency. That 25% there is the target score. That's not what we scored the prior year. That's just the representative of the goal that we set. So we fell short of that goal. That's not a dip in performance. That's a representative of the target that we set and where we fell short in
So
that.
how far did we fall below the number that we had? Was it an increase or decrease? The 17.7, was it an increase or decrease from last year in regards to special ed?
Well, what I would add too on this, just as a heads up, is
Right.
that number, once we get our Alt 2 results in,
Right.
that number is going to change
Well, I
probably dramatically, right? Well, because those are all special ed students and they're going to,
Right.
they'll pass the meets numbers. So last year's target was set with everything in the gumbo, our STAR and STAR Alt 2 students. So once we get that Alt 2 data in, we'll be able to give you an accurate number to say, hey, apples to apples, last year, this is where we're at. But just straight STAR data, we're seeing a little bit of a dip, about 8 points, but we would expect that to come up once we get the STAR Alt 2 results
Okay.
published, if you want to call it that.
Well, that's basically it. Anytime there's a red on our reports, expect a question related to it. So you can prepare in advance for the things I'm going to ask most of the time, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Newsom, because we focus on the green. Yeah, I know. I'm talking about when we,
You know me.
when we give presentations, we're
Green
always
is
talking
great,
on the green.
but I don't expect the green to decrease, so I expect it to
I
keep
know.
going up too.
I know.
They had the same thing on, if you look at the slides, one of the things that jumped out to me was African-American scores. I mean, they were, in red too, so do you disaggregate this by campus as well? Like, you take a heavy Hispanic campus or a heavy African-American campus like Griffin or Ramey, do y'all look at it at that level?
Yes, sir. We break it down by campus, by race. Largely, the campuses are evaluated by race, so we break that data down. We'll sit down with them, we'll work through that and help them understand the progress, or if there was a lack of progress, and try to identify where they need to be at next year to get
You
going.
actually sit down with the campus level administration?
Yes, sir.
To look at their specific data and say, this is where we were, this is where we're at, this is where we'd like to be, those type of conversations?
Yeah, that work happens this summer in conjunction with our school supervisors in the back. They'll sit with each one of their campuses as well as Dr. Cureton. They'll go through their data demographic by demographic, develop an action plan, and then begin that action planning or implementation of that action planning in August.
Because I was encouraged by the math scores, number one, and two, your free and reduced lunch. It seems like we're competitive there regardless of color. So I was just wondering, when you throw color into the mix, are we trying to address that component of it as well?
We had to-
At the campus levels?
Yeah, we identify what we call LIFT students, lightning
Improvement for Tyler.
Lightning Improvement for Tyler. It's an acronym started before I got here. So each campus is required to set goals targeted at their lowest performing demographics and how they're going to improve their students' outcomes with those specific student groups.
Thank you.
Our campus improvement plans do have the targets for each campus and what they need to achieve. That's Senate Bill 1566. Which one is that? House bill? Which one? House
Close
Senate?
enough. Close enough.
1566 is the number. It's the training that y'all have to go through every 2 years, which you do not have to do this year or next, because you just went through 2 days of Lone Star governance. But anyways, 1566, that's embedded in every campus now. It used to not be that way. It was first done, just the districts had to have those 3 to 5 goals that had to be adopted. But each campus now has, since you've gotten on the board, or since you left the board last, now actually has to have that at each campus. So they have like a mini district type of goal and strategy and plans to get there. You always had to have campus improvement plans, no matter where you're at, but that's actually embedded inside of it.
Anyone else? Okay. Business, legal, finance, consent agenda. We're going to pull B.
That's correct.
Okay. Can I get a motion for A, C, D, E, F, G?
Ooh, you gotta pull,
So move.
you gotta pull C also.
We're going to pull C also. I had it down here.
You're going to pull B
B
and
and C.
B
C.
and C.
I make a motion that we approve the rest of the business, legal, finance
A,
agenda.
D, E, F, G.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposing? Okay, those have been approved. So we'll go with B, gifts and donations.
Yeah, we're so blessed. I say this every time that we, whether it be $5,001 or $50,000 like you have in front of you today, from the Andy Woods Elementary School PTA in dedication and reserve for playground enhancements. Across our community, we have great people that do the work to provide outside of what the normal budget provides, and this is just one of the examples for that. One day, I'm sure Andy Woods Elementary School is going to want to put a dome over their field with the way that they're going. But today, we've got $50,000 to actually put in front of the board for consideration and possible action to accept on their behalf for playground enhancements.
I have a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the gift and donation for Andy Woods, and I'd like to make a comment.
You said what now?
I just wanted to make a comment about Andy Woods, and I think it's an example, again, you look at our highest performing campuses, and it's involved parents, no matter what the demographics are, and that just speaks volumes of Andy Woods. There's always involved PTAs and parents. I mean, I love all of our elementaries, but they're setting the trend, and they're setting that bar really high. I really appreciate what they're doing out there.
Need a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
I doubt it.
Okay, it has been approved. The next one is the delegate and alternate to TASA and TASB convention.
Yeah, and page 23 of your packet, one of y'all has the opportunity to be named as a delegate to the annual TASA-TASB convention. This year held in beautiful, cool Houston in September, I believe,
Yeah.
middle of September. So I'm sure it'll be a chance of ice and a snowy mix down there at that time in Houston. And you probably need to wear full suit and tie and an overcoat. So I don't know if the dates are listed in your packet on page 23. They are.
September
They are.
11th through the 14th.
There you go. So 11th through 14th. I will tell you that I will be down there conducting my last order of business as the president this year of the Texas School Alliance Board of Trustees, myself. So you'll have somebody to attend the annual luncheon that day with if you decide to go, but you do need a delegate and you need an alternate, Madam President.
Question. Do we have representatives already to this body?
To the TASA-TASB, each year, this body chooses a representative and a delegate to go to that convention, to where you go to the actual room where they vote on things like, and make speeches on
understand.
advocacy agenda, and et cetera, et cetera.
So we don't have anybody that's consistently been involved in it?
Aaron Martinez has
Trish
been,
Nation did it for a long time.
Trish did it for a while. I think Yvonne might have done it, wanted to do it one year, but Matthew McConaughey didn't show up or something.
Well,
But I think,
yeah,
no, I
that's
think
my
Aaron went, I was
thing.
gonna be the alternate, but when he couldn't go, it was too late for me to.
Correct,
go.
okay.
Well, I suggest that the people that's been involved attend so that we have continuity from one year to the next. I think Ms. Atkins, I like you, but I think you should have to attend just because of the experience and everything that I think would be important. So my thing is, I think Aaron and Ms. Atkins possibly should attend unless somebody else eagerly want to go.
Did you wanna go?
That want to throw their name in the hat.
I think probably, I'm sure Mr. Bergfeld's
don't
probably
mind.
out.
Ms. Berger, would you like to go?
Parents' weekend.
Parents' weekend
Oh,
at a certain school. So who's
go.
planning on going, I guess is one thing. You all have your hours.
Right.
Is Mr. Lisea going to have all of his hours after SLI? Ms. Orr, do you think?
I will have to.
Maybe?
check.
Have
Yeah,
to see
maybe.
how many.
Because he got a lot of hours on Lone Star Governance. But then he's got the new trustee 2.0 that he's got to get, okay.
I'll go.
If I need to go to get more hours, I'm glad to do it, whatever you guys want to do.
It's mandatory for the delegate to attend?
You will not be able to vote if you're not in attendance. Must be present,
Right. On the items that come in front of the delegates.
correct?
The Parents Week in Texas or where?
Are you busy, Em?
Well, it's a personal thing. He has to support his family, and I understand
hear
that.
I mean, I'm indifferent. If you want to mark me down, you can mark me
Be the
down.
alt.
Yeah.
I think the alternate only has to go with the delegate. Can't
Be
go.
the delegate.
And yet you still both don't have to go.
Right,
Okay. Okay.
right.
And I bet,
Those are the
I
two
bet we
that
could get to number 3 on the list if we absolutely have to,
Right.
if something were to happen. Okay, there you go. I think y'all need to probably take action on that, correct, Ms. Orr?
I think Mr. Newsom made the motion to have Yvonne and Aaron do it.
Yeah,
I'll
Is that your
second
motion?
That could
Okay,
be my
there you go.
motion.
I'll
Sure
second
can.
that.
All in favor?
I'm
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay. That's all for that section. The next section, do we need to pull anything from A through M?
I don't think so.
Everybody's good?
Do need to speak with you, Mr. Jones, on item D. Just remind me on the MOU with TJC. Okay?
Soup, I don't want to pull that item on it, but I guess these are just offline questions I can ask you about the application process because there was no application in the actual MOU or in the package. And I'm just wondering, what's the application process like? Is there an essay? Is there an interview? Just the format of it. But I don't need to pull it. I can ask.
Good question.
I can ask you those offline.
We'll have Mr. Jones and I guess Ms. Hortman. That'll be the experts on that, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, I move that we approve the curriculum instruction consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, it's moved and passed. Superintendent's report.
You have the quarterly investment report, quarterly financial executive summary. Chief Financial Officer Casey Russell is here. Welcome back, Casey. Anything to report on these two items of substance, and maybe any questions from the board? If not, we can obviously answer questions in regard to these reports and summaries after the meeting.
Everything looks good. The investment report, our interest rate has stayed pretty consistent over the last year, and we're right where we need to be at this time of year for the quarterly report.
Okay. We make any money off investments?
A little.
Little? Okay, good.
It's always good. Okay, do we have to vote on it?
Nope.
So, budget compensation structure update and legislative update.
Yeah, this discussion right here, we've got something to take you through real quick. As I've explained to y'all, when y'all have asked me questions about getting, rubbing your hands together about this last legislative session and what they provided for us in House Bill 2, we're trying to learn this at the same time that y'all are trying to learn this, to be honest with you, because I think the plane's been being built while it's in the air, to be honest with you. But in front of you today, we do have an amended agenda item in front of you that does address compensation. And we do have budget listed on here for the discussion, but at the same time, we're really here to discuss the compensation structure as we prepare for later agendas in July at our regular meeting, and then August at our variety of different meetings that we have to have as far as the adoption of the tax rate and the actual approval of the budget. So tonight, we thought we'd give you a little appetizer on compensation structure, mainly because of the noise that exists out there in regards to people that like to talk about the last legislative session and whether or not Tyler ISD is going to follow state law or not and provide the actual raises that were adopted and provided in House Bill 2, which we have to do. So, Ms. Harrison, if you have anyone calling and asking you, you can tell them it's state law. We have to do what they ask us to do. So, do we have something to throw up there besides this? Hey, there it is. So here's your teacher compensation. As y'all recall, a few years ago, we went to brackets. In other words, in years 6 through 10, you would make this. In years 11 through 15, you would make this, and then so on. This does include the actual compensation increase that was voted upon by the legislature this year, to where teachers that teach inside of a school system with 5,000 students or more are afforded the $2,500 raise in years 3 to 4 experiences. And in years 5 plus, they receive a $5,000 raise. Now, if you were working in a school system with less than 5,000, those numbers would be different. This was all funded by House Bill 2. Teachers with 1 year of experience, so really that's probably 1 year to year 1 and 2, right? I guess, no, I'm sorry. With 1 year of experience, received the previously anticipated $1,500 raise from the 2024-2025 pay scale. So they still, in their bracket, they still move up. And then teachers with 2 years of experience will receive a $1,000 raise despite it not being funded by House Bill 2 or anticipated from the previous pay scale. So that is something that, through some of our efforts, we were able to carve out some money to make sure that everybody that are classroom teachers get a compensation boost up and down the pay scales. Obviously, we start our beginning teachers start out at $52,000, and you can top out at 31 plus at $75,000. Ms. Russell, you have a microphone in front of you. Anything that you'd like to add on this?
Just to point out the change, you all have a revised copy. This is all teachers regardless of certification. This is based on new information we got a few hours after the board agenda item was set and posted. So this is all teachers.
So you may ask, who are those other teachers? Well, it was our DOI teachers. We did have a different plan, not that we don't love them and not that we don't like them, but we do have budgets for consideration. We also have incentivization that we need to get back to in regard to getting people to get their teacher certification, since that is not just heavy on local hearts here, but it's awfully heavy apparently at the legislature with some of the legislation that did and did not pass. So they are included in this, correct? The DOI teachers. So if you've got a DOI teacher, let's say that we've got a DOI teacher of 25 years experience in welding, Mr. Jones. That's a positive for them to be able to qualify for the big raise, correct? All right. Because there are some DOIs that we don't need to speak down to. We don't need to speak down to anybody, but at the same time, there's some that are industry experienced that are considered DOI that are never going to go back to school and get their teacher certification, but they can teach welding. They can teach carpentry. They can teach plumbing. And they can teach auto collision and repair, paint and body, all the great things that we have at CTC. They actually qualify for this now. Not that we were going to exempt them, but we're talking about your normal K-12 content-specific teachers that did not have a certification. There was a plan. TEA's come back now and said that we actually have to provide that compensation increase.
Is this showing the pay scale right here and then not with the bonuses, correct?
No, this has it in. If you look at last year's pay scale, which is actually on the next page, it's the nurses' compensation. They're staying on the former pay scale. If you pick any of them, like you say, okay, a last year's teacher with 2 years of experience will have 3 years this year, you'll see the $2,500 pay raise. So everyone is exactly $2,500 or $5,000 if they're 3 to 4 or 5 and above, and then below, like we described, the 1 year and 2 year, that's their raise. So no one's going to have anything different. It's going to be very standard.
I think what Lindsay was asking about was not the scale, the base pay, the bonus stuff, the bilingual bonus, math and science.
No, she answered it. That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
But
I was just
it
making
does
sure I
not
was-
include those stipends.
Yeah,
no.
I
does
was
not
just
include
making
the
sure I was
stipend.
reading it correctly so that it wasn't, the 3 to 4 is 54,500. That is with the
Yes.
bonus in there.
TEA requires it to be part of the base compensation.
Okay, got it.
And not the stipends.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
And what stipends do you have? Math, science, bilingual?
Say it again, Ron.
There's, reading.
Yep.
So speaking on what, if I may, Madam President, on what Sue touched on earlier, when we initially got this, it came in two brackets, certified and non-certified. This new one, it's got it all together. There's essentially no difference in what we're paying the certified or non-certified, if I'm understanding that correctly.
That is correct.
Is there a cost, I'm sure there is, associated, and do we know what that number is with becoming certified? So if I was a teacher at Tyler ISD or wanted to be one, and I said, to me, it's worth it being certified, for whatever reason, for the knowledge I gain, for the training, whatever it is, do you guys know what that number would be to cost me to be certified?
What's that ballpark, Ms. Taylor?
It varies on the program, and we're looking at a range anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, depending on what program it's using.
So,
That's just the program.
just the pro, so you're saying $3,000 to $5,000, you said? $3,000 to $6,000 to become certified, depending on the program. I also have to have a baccalaureate degree, I'm assuming, to be a certified teacher.
Yes, sir, that has to be completed.
Trying to figure out where the incentive is here for us to be certified. If you're paying them all the same, they're paid bonuses the same way if it's bilingual, but one's spending maybe $6,000 more to be certified and has to have a baccalaureate degree. Not saying one teacher's better than the other here, or more effective than the other. Where's the carrot?
Can they do that forever?
Can they do
Well,
that? I don't know.
the plan was going to be to incentivize getting your teacher certification. Now we're hearing the state has told us.
Okay.
We have to treat them the same.
Right.
So the state's telling you, we're giving you this money, you can't.
And there is no wiggle room in there to go and say, well, let's just go ahead and give all certified teachers $2,000 or $3,000 more than the others just to have some separation there. Because everything that the state provided for us, because the one chamber decided to control how this was done, made it that way.
Yeah.
So
That's
if we'd
what I-
had some wiggle room in basic allotment money, we could have done some cool, creative stuff. And it's twofold. One was we couldn't do the cool and creative stuff that we wanted to do to try to incentivize teacher certification. And then the other thing was the efficiency that we did, instead of using some of that maybe to go to some cool stuff, we've got to kind of hold back on some of that for next year, right? Because are they going to get a raise like this next year?
Not from the state.
It's the first year of the biennium, and you're not going to get 2,500 this year and then 2,500 next year. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, the guidance that we got a few hours after this agenda item was due says that when you hit the 3-year mark and the 5-year mark, that happens again. I still need to get more clarity on that. So I'm headed to TASBO tomorrow to get more information.
Well, the projections that I've seen, and I'm not arguing with you on this, but when you start looking at the biennium for Tyler ISD for between this year and next year, where's the bump at? I mean, it's not like they're going to write you another check to cover those individuals right there. You've got to go find that yourself within what you have. I don't think they're going to fund you any better next year or the following year.
They're not, they gave us all of this to make up for the vouchers deal. That's,
Or am I wrong on that, Casey? Maybe you've seen this stuff more frequently than I have, more recently than I have.
I was reading it just today again, and that's when I saw it and saw that it said going forward when they hit that 3-year and 5-year. This year, it's everyone 3 and 4 and 5 and above. And then going forward, it's when you hit the 3 and when you hit the 5. And that they would fund it. But again, we need more guidance before we can go forward. That's why draft is written over all this. It's way too early.
Okay.
Soup, I got,
Limit to how many years you can work as a non-certified teacher?
yeah.
3, isn't it?
Typically, it's internal. They want to sunset this thing by the year 2030. Now, that's not officially in law. It was discussed. We've got another session between now and 2030. Can't wait for that. 2 sessions, right? Yeah, 2027 and 2029. And so you've got 2 sessions to work on this, on how you're going to unwind all of this, which was caused because of what? The teacher shortage that's been caused because of what? Finance and deprofessionalization of the profession. So you've got that to consider. Locally, Ms. Atkins, we try to, the best we can, we look at the value of that individual. We like to say we want you certified by your 3rd year on a DOI, correct, HR? Now, there's obviously some outliers there that might be performing that we don't want to say thou shalt be certified, because you're going to let a good teacher go because of that. Coach Gillespie's in the back there. This is a way to also keep good coaches around and not have to make them go teach calculus A and B. So you're able to maybe DOI them into a PE position where they don't have a PE certification, and they're winning games for us and providing good culture and atmosphere for us. So I think there's some, each individual one, to answer your question, you have to take a look at. A normal classroom teacher that's responsible for reading scores and math scores, absolutely, we want to get them certified as quick as possible. We also want to keep them under contract if they're good for us. And if they're not performing, producing the outcomes that we want, we don't want them here after year 3 anyway. So it almost takes care of itself. So no, there's not a defined, thou shalt be certified by year 3.
So do they have to be ESL certified like all the certified teachers?
Well, that's kind of when you and I, as veteran teachers coming up, and those things were required. We've had folks say that we're not going to teach in Tyler ISD anymore because we require them to get ESL certified. So that kind of works itself out as well. And we kind of look at the performance again. Are the ESL kids performing inside of those classrooms, the outcomes there, or not? And if they are, then you may provide a waiver for them to get their ESL certification, correct? Okay.
As recently as this past week, there was some discussion regarding certified versus non-certified teachers in the districts. And if not mistaken, there's supposed to be some legislature coming down eventually addressing that concern in regards to putting stipulations regarding certified and certified from the state level, saying that you should do this like they do everything else. Tell you how you should address those individuals within your district. So I don't know if it's current or if it's just something in the making, but there was some discussion regarding that.
I know that there's some discussion regarding we have to have a 100% or whatever it is of teachers certified by X year. What I'm saying is, from a practical business standpoint, if I have an employee that is licensed in a specific area by the state, and I have another employee that is not licensed, and they're both doing the same job, I think that the employee that's licensed, that's had that higher training, that's had more hands-on experience, as long as they're both producing, I'm probably going to compensate that licensed one a little bit better. They've gone the extra mile. I totally understand what Soup's saying on a welding person. I don't expect them to have a 4-year baccalaureate degree. The coaches, I'm totally with you, but in your core areas, reading, writing, arithmetic, those areas, science, those areas, if we're not, I don't know that we're not, that's a question for the Soup. Are we measuring, so you said we're encouraging these people to get certified, obviously. Maybe we're even bonusing them to try to help them with that financially. I have no idea what our efforts are there. But are we measuring that if we have 100 uncertified teachers, and then we're saying, we're encouraging you to be certified by year number 3. And I'm only speaking in those core areas. Are we measuring that and saying, okay, of those 100, 55 did it, the other 45 did not, and we're okay with those?
So you get a report every semester in regards to District of Innovation certified, DOI certified teachers or uncertified teachers, whatever you want to call them. They're district certified teachers working their way towards that. The last report we gave, I just want to give a ballpark that says that 75 to 80% of them were either a test away from their certification. They completed all their coursework. They need to go get certified to pass the test, or we were waiting on an out-of-state certification to come in. There's 3 or 4 different things that the board has reported on once a semester. And It's not that we've got this large, the narrative is that we've got so many uncertified people, but but no one wants to listen to that they're on their way towards certification.
Yeah, I think it's a
Right.
I think it's a complex problem because you're right, the narrative is out there that we've got a large percentage of uncertified teachers, which by my measures, I think we do. I think by our surrounding districts, we are high. I think it's 18%. I may be wrong on that number, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 18%. But if we also have the data that says of those 18%, here's how many we're working to get them do that, because we're in a district of innovation, and part of that district of innovation allows us, the superintendent, to do those certifications in-house and say, okay, we're gonna waive that one, we're gonna waive this one. So that puts a bigger burden on us to self-report, to say, hey, we've got this 18% that are not certified. Great teachers, some of my best teachers were probably uncertified, but we're working to get them certified. That's all I'm saying is if we measure that and we're happy with what is being done there, then I think we'll be fine with this. I actually would like to differentiate between the two, but you're telling me that the state has given us this money and we cannot differentiate between certified and uncertified.
Yep, when it was anticipated that we were going to receive early versions of House Bill 2, 10 to 12 million. We were going to do some pretty creative stuff along with some of the efficiency work that we did in-house. We wound up receiving ballpark 7.5, 7.7.
Mm-hmm.
So
7.7, 7.5, I think.
yeah, 7.5, and then some of the flexibility in that obviously was taken away, and then just us trying to meet law, we couldn't do it. So yeah, incentivization's good on that, because I'm tired of talking about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think y'all all think I just want to have all these DOI teachers running around here, and no, that's not the case. You know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to survive, because I remember the days when we were having 70 to 80 to 90 substitutes per day in Tyler ISD because of vacancies. We love our subs, but we need people with degrees in front of our kids before we can get to that. So, yes, I'm tired of talking about it, and I want to do something about it, and I'm hoping that we can.
Yeah, I think that I can relate to Leno, because when I came on the board, that was one of my biggest concerns as well. But over the period of time, I've been satisfied with the information that we get as board members in regards to that and the monitoring of it. So I think along the way, you'll probably come to the understanding as well that we are trying to get as many certified as possible, and the ones that's not certifiable, quote unquote, they may or may not be with the district. So I think that along the way you'll gain that confidence in how we're managing that pretty well.
I will.
Do you think that it is an achievable goal to be at the same level that our surrounding districts are in that category of uncertified teachers? In other words, if a surrounding district that's comparable, a Longview, a Lufkin, Nacogdoches, if they're at a 5% and we're at an 18%, you think it's a reachable goal within a specified period of time?
I don't know. That's my answer. I'd have to go, I think each community is different. I think each school system is different. Just to hang on to somebody just because they're certified doesn't mean that they're worth hanging on to. And I don't know what's going on in those districts like that. So I think we're not going to have to talk about this in the next 5 years if they're going to wind it down the way that they're going to wind it down, which I don't know how where we're going to go back, because I do remember the days that when first got here, the amount of vacancies that we had and the trend that was coming, the wave that was coming, the wave that's here now, and what the solution is going to be on that, because I don't think you can go back to that either. Y'all aren't going to be happy if we have 40 vacancies. 50 vacancies per year. I can tell you that right now, because I've been here long enough to know that I remember when they being board members weren't happy with that. So if we're not happy with the DOI and having a degree in professional in that classroom, that level of unhappiness isn't the same as the level of unhappiness of trying to find a substitute teacher inside of a classroom every day. At least we got a committed professional individual that signed on a contract to come to work every day to try to learn the profession, to try to do the best that they can right now.
Well, it's not like you have a large pool of certified teachers knocking down our door wanting a job either. I mean, you gotta hire, who you can hire to get in and train them up.
Yeah,
and do the job.
nuances say that different district culture, you go to a Lindale and you stay there for 40 years like some did. You don't have the Manny McDowells that kind of go back and forth from Lindale to Tyler. You go there and you teach for 35 years and you retire. We've got some of those. So I think that you're right, Nacogdoches, Lufkin, Longview, but we're also not going to be recruiting them from those places. They're going to have to physically move here. They're not going to drive here every day.
No, I'm not saying recruiting, I'm saying if their level of uncertified teachers, I'm not talking about recruiting their employees. I'm talking about our surrounding peer districts, if they're at a certain level and we're beyond that, is it reasonable for us to assume that within a specified period of time, we can work towards that goal and try to achieve that? I'm trying to reduce the amount of uncertification. That's something I've always been adamant about, is that I would like to have certified teachers in the classroom, not knocking the uncertified ones, not saying they're not doing a great job, because there's many areas where we need them. But I will tell you from the flip side of this, there are many certified teachers that are saying, why'd I do that? I'm getting paid the same thing the other ones are. And I had to spend $6,000 more and take X amount of classes and cram and go back to college and get the certification and do all the continuing education that I've got to do to maintain that. So there's also the flip side of that argument. And I don't like to treat employees differently if they're doing the same thing, obviously on the money side, but also on the amount of rigor and coursework that they've got to do to get that certification.
Yeah. I'll say this. Your superintendent was alt-cert. I wasn't certified when I came out, and I did the work, but I never did look at somebody that way and did that. I hope our folks are better than that. I hope we have that team spirit inside of our campuses and can understand and listen to this conversation that we're having at the dais today and understand why we have DOI certified individuals, because we're trying to put degreed professionals in front of kids to work alongside them. I would hope that our teachers would want to inspire someone to go get their certification and not be, why not do all of this? You're not certified, I am certified, why are you treated the same? I'm hoping it's that we're in it for kids and outcomes. I don't know, that's the way I feel about it. And I'm hoping that maybe some of the examples that you provided are one-offs and it's not the culture of this district, because that would be very difficult to win in this district if we didn't have people striving towards having a successful school. Anyways, I can go down that path all day, I guess.
And we don't have all day.
I know it. You still have a legislative update to get to. What questions y'all have on compensation, like on the actual numbers that we have? Anything that you would like to interject? If there's room for creativity in there, Mr. Lisea, we will search for it. I can give you our word on that, but I don't think we've got that right now because of some of the law that's coming down, correct?
Correct.
Okay, legislative update.
Okay, let's get to the legislative update. I'm going to go real quick over here. Well, I did put this PowerPoint together, so Jax loads that up. Through the Texas School Alliance, through help of the Texas School Alliance, we're going to give you some influential education legislation that came out of the 89th legislative session. I'm not going to read every bullet to you because they'd give me a hard time, but there's funding. We've been keeping up with House Bill 2. There's the highlights there about how much it actually provided across the state. The one thing I want to highlight on this is this $1.3 billion allotment for basic costs for insurance premiums, utilities, TRS costs, tied to teacher pay and other expenses that are specifically not administrator pay. Y'all, 12% increase in TRS insurance this year. So whatever we talk about on teacher raises is going to wind up, some of that's going to be chipped away with because of our plan. Remember, we used to be self-funded. It was extremely expensive to your budget, to our budget. We went with the state's plan. In a lot of cases, our employees received pretty good news when we actually went off the self-funded plan over into the plan. It's still good news, but once they give you a boost, a raise, $2,500 to $5,000, they come back at you for 12% increase. Safety, security, and special education overhaul as well. Special education, some of the highlights there for this. One thing is that they're actually going to transition from a placement-based funding model to a service intensity-based model. So like when you actually test a kid for special education, the district actually receives $1,000
For a full evaluation.
for a full evaluation. Yeah. Is that a lot of money for a full evaluation?
It gets close to covering the cost.
Gets close to covering. That's better than what we had, right? So that's some questions that Mr. Newsom and I have been discussing is something that's kind of maybe there's an opportunity to accomplish some of those things that we've been talking about. Special education transportation reimbursement rate is actually going to go up. That's a good thing. Here's assessment and accountability. We all know that House Bill 4 died in a House Senate conference committee. And pretty much what happened was at the very end, it was going to get back to the old star. We were going to celebrate that, oh, the star's been redesigned. We did away with the STAR test. We're going to give it a new acronym. But at the very end, you're still going to have the high stakes test at the very end that's going to drive accountability. The great thing about it was we got a lot of people talking about it. We've got parents talking about it. We've got school teachers talking about it. We've got community members. We've got legislators talking about it. So maybe there's some momentum for interim charges in the 90th, leading up to the 90th. There's vouchers, $1 billion over the next 2 years. It's anticipated by the LBB, the Legislative Budget Board. The only projections is it's going to grow to $4 billion by the year 2030. It was one of the first bills signed into law, if not the first. Property taxes, you're going to get to go to the ballot to the voting ballot in November to increase the homestead exemption for the first $140,000 on your homestead. And for seniors, 65 and over, if you have disabilities, it's going to go from 110 to 200. And with those exemptions right there, you're looking at I think the average senior taxpayer in Texas is going to be close to not having to pay school taxes. That's incredible. And now your appraisals may be contending with you on that. You may be going like in and out depending upon your property appraisals. There you go. Elections and lobbying, there were some efforts made to put everything in November. From board elections to bond elections, that discussion happens every time. It did not pass. There's still chance for that maybe being called in a special session. And then taxpayer-funded lobbying, the governor has mentioned a special session as such. Student discipline, House Bill 6 intended to make it easier for teachers to maintain discipline in their classrooms. Several reforms, increasing the number of days a student can spend in in-school suspension to 10. When Mr. Jones and I were high school principals at good old Dallas ISD, 30? Could you do 30? You could do 30 in ISS. You could almost run your own DAEP. Now we didn't like it, but it was a lot better than what it is now. Along with some in-school suspension on campuses. We also provided some funds for virtual DAP placements as well. That's kind of creative, that you can run school virtually for all DAP, which is something we're going to take a look at. We don't really know how it's going to work yet, but it's something we can take a look at. Actually, cell phones is covered somewhere else. Here's some other cool stuff on curriculum instruction. There's HB 1481. It prohibits students from using cell phones during the school day. You, the board, will decide discipline and where students can store phones during the day. Okay? We're working on some of those proposals right now for you to consider. About a 4-step method, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's monetary at each one of those steps?
Yes, sir.
And parental involvement at each one of those steps?
Yes, sir.
We're going to have parents helping us with this. Mr. Jones and I are the oldest administrators in here. We are so excited that we're going back to 2002. But it's needed, y'all. And I'm hoping that our community will get behind it. I hope that our parents will get behind the necessity to deal with this cultural issue. House Bill 27, high school students take a personal financial literacy course before graduating. That's big for us as well. because the old macroeconomics course that we've all been forced to take, talking about the different forms of economics inside of our political atmosphere, it isn't working. We need to learn how to take care of our home finances before we can even start thinking about how political systems manage their economies. CCMR, here's some good stuff on here as well as far as the CCMR programs. CTE credits could be substitute for core credits required for graduation. That's always a good thing. It broadens eligibility and funding mechanisms for dual credit, technical education pathways, and advising systems to transition from high school to colleges and career. This is a very interesting one right here. Senate Bill 1191 requires the Commissioner of Education, as soon as practicable, to develop a uniform formula for determining a high school student's grade point average. So what you're seeing is when a kid tries to go to Texas A&M and they've gone to Tyler ISD, they may have 110 grade point average, which how do you get 110 grade points, right? But then you go from maybe Bullard ISD and then they've got 120 grade point average. They're going to try to have some uniformity in that. Good luck with that because that's really locally derived, that GPA is. But they're running into it in higher ed. Virtual education, they're expanding virtual education options throughout the state. That's exciting. Health and nutrition prohibits the restriction of PE recess for disciplinary or other regions. There's nothing that makes me hotter than whenever I have a parent contact me and say my kid was held out of recess because they acted up at class. And I think, what did we just do to ourselves? Because those kids are probably the ones that need to be going to recess in the first place and running some of that energy out of there. I was one of those kids. My grandson's going to be one of those kids. So I'm glad this is codified and reinforced in state law. I don't know why they had to do it again. I thought this was already a requirement, to be honest with you. But here we are. And then here's some of the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, that's kind of trickled down to the state. I think this might have been Brian Hughes' bill right here. Your Senate District 1 state senator prohibits certain additives in breakfast or lunch. So I'm sure Victor Oliveris is going to have a good time with that. Here's homeschool UIL opportunity. That last bullet says everything. We've been operating something that looks like this. We will continue to look at it as a locally operated system for eligible students that mirrors the same requirements for our own enrolled students, which is legal right now. If you don't want to do this, you've got to vote to opt out by September 1 of this year. Here's some DEI parents and library book fun. Senate Bill 12 makes new prohibitions on DEI efforts in schools. You've got to prohibit employees, contractors, volunteers from engaging in DEI duties, including the hiring practices. Some of these we've not had issues with here in Tyler ISD. Third bullet, it is state law now that bans groups centered around gender identity and sexual orientation. Grievance policies around these topics can now go through the board process and then maybe even sometimes wind up at the State Board of Education or at the Commissioner of Education's office with the superintendent defending what was done at the local school system level. Here's some continuation of that. As far as library books go, we've made it through our library book issue. So hopefully we don't have a whole lot of remnants of this going on, but these are some of the things that can happen that the legislature created this next time as far as advisory goes to y'all. School boards have the final say over what materials are allowed in their school libraries by creating a framework for them to remove books based on complaints. You could delegate the responsibility of approving and banning books to local advisory councils, but you also could just maintain your approval or disapproval at the board dais. I can't wait to watch y'all go through that, if ever. 10 Commandments and Prayer, Senate Bill 10 and Senate Bill 11. Here we are. Every classroom is going to display a poster with the 10 Commandments on it, sized at least 16 inches, starting this September. So we need to call upon our partners to maybe sponsor that. They can even put their logo at the bottom of it, Ms. Hines. Similar to what we did with In God We Trust. I'm thinking that maybe the same group might want to provide that for our schools. September 11th requires every school board to take a record vote by March 1st of next year, so 2026, about what a plan would look like for a prayer, a period of prayer in each school, okay? We're working on something for y'all for that as well. Conceptually, think of a 0 or 8th hour at a high school, correct?
Yeah.
Now, this is at every school, K-12, correct?
Yeah.
They don't really have classroom periods.
We're still working on it.
Okay, there you go. So those are some things we're having to flesh out there as well. School district liability, this is near and dear to my heart. That is going to get reinforced at convocation with our people amongst a bundle of other things about that we've got to be better. But this creates exposure liability for school districts when a school employee commits any type of sexual misconduct against a student. It was amended to ensure that the language applies to districts that are grossly negligent, reckless, or ones that are engaged in intentional misconduct. In other words, if you're trying to cover it up. And we just don't do that here. We need to be better in not having anything anywhere near inappropriate conduct of educators towards students, whether that be text messaging and communication, even innuendoing at all, some of these things. Here's some other bills of interest. I cannot receive any type of financial benefit, neither can the deputy superintendents, in the performance of professional services for a business that conducts or solicits business with the school district, an education business that provides services regarding the curriculum or administration of any school. In other words, you can't go do board training. You can't get paid to mentor another superintendent. It did not say that I cannot coach my daughter's travel basketball team, and I don't make any money off of that anyways. It's not a nonprofit. I think more or less because of my personal finances put into that, I'm more of an angel investor. Other school district, charter school, or regional ESC, we can't do that. The superintendent's job is to be the superintendent. Same thing for board members. You can't go do that as well. And then down there at the bottom, assistant superintendent can't receive financial benefit, but principals can, I think. There you go. Here's some other bills of interest. 1522, the new Open Meetings Act notice. This is the Gina Orr bill. At least 3 business days. Y'all listen to this one. I'm looking at y'all now, the people that helped put the agenda together. Also requires posting at least 3 business days before the scheduled date of a meeting. Business days. You can no longer count Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, get you some of that. Yeah. Now, what we're thinking is it may delay some things getting to the board because of this new rule change. Our board agenda setting is pretty tight as it is, so we can allow the maximum amount of information to get to y'all. Now we're going to be sitting here struggling, not being able to count a couple of those days like the weekends as actual days before. So think about the information that you got tonight in regard to continuous improvement in student outcomes. That may be delayed because of this rule, unintended consequences. Hey, look, the competitive procurement threshold has now been moved to $100,000. We're already doing that. Required posting an Open Meetings Act at least, did I repeat that? I sure did. Gummit. Gina? Hey, here's some items of interest. June 22nd is the last day the governor has to sign something or not sign something or veto it. If he signs it or he doesn't sign it by June 22nd, it becomes law. If he vetoes it, obviously he vetoes it. That all started on June 2nd. Nuances in bill author intent and rulemaking that are delegated to state agencies remain in play. And again, nuances in bill author intent. So sometimes on a bill, you call the actual bill author and say, hey, did you intend for this to be this? Yeah, this is what I meant by that. There's some of that going on. Our policy service provider interpretation of this next session, I can't wait because we're already getting some of that. And we are already in the process of communicating some of the urgent developments that are imminent to the start of the 2025-2026 school year. I'll even adopt the policy. Obviously, we're not going to put out, let's take, for instance, the cell phone discipline penalties. Y'all have to approve that. we will go ahead between now and when we meet at the regular meeting in July, just start alerting parents that this policy is coming and that they need to partner with us in regard to making sure there's fidelity to this because it is now state law. We're not going to release what that four-step discipline process looks like because we're still formulating that and y'all have to approve that. But we will start doing that along with some other announcements forthcoming between now and when we meet again in July. There's your legislative update. We're not going to talk about the legislative session in this format again. You're not going to get board training in November for the legislative update, et cetera. You're not going to get your team of 8. You got Lone Star Governed trained. You've been trained on you've been given your legislative update today, so we're done. Any questions?
Just one comment real quick. I just want to say how much I appreciate all the advocacy work you did this year, especially with TSA. And I think it was purposeful that they selected you to be their president this year during the session. And so I just want to say thanks. And Dr. Curitan back there, who I know spent some time in Austin as well. And, you know, you guys are fighting for the kids here, but also for the ones in the state. So I appreciate it.
Yep. TSA is finally doing something. No, I'm just kidding. They've been a strong, supportive policymaking group that really checks their emotions at the door. And it's been an honor to be able to do that. I think I just was in the rotation, Mr. Martinez. And I've been superintendent at Tyler for almost a dozen years, so it's bound to fall on me at some time, right? But I appreciate y'all listening today, and thank you for saying that. Any other questions or comments?
Did you get paid for this presentation?
Did not, neither did I on the TSA thing. Thanks for extending my time up here. I was going to say I was glad I was going to go last, but you had a question you had to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, future business, July 9th, Wayne Brochure Center for Exceptional Programs graduation, which is always awesome. July 21st will be our regular meeting, no board workshop in the month of July. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Have a good evening.